Hey folks out there in D&D land, I hope all of y'all are having a good start to your holiday seasons. And just in case you didn't quite have that jovial spirit yet, here's going to be a whole episode of just fun D&D homebrewed items and a couple little fun Christmas things to get you all in that holiday spirit. Enjoy. Welcome to Dragons and Dice. 'Twas the podcast before Christmas, and all through the show, not a player was playing, not even a roll. All of the character sheets were laid on the table with care, in hopes that Sir Dungeon Master would soon be there. The dice were nestled all snug in their bed, while visions of criticals danced in their head. An elf in her trance and a dwarf in his cap, the whole party had just settled down for a long rest nap. When out of the camp there arose such a clatter, the group sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away from the fire they flew like a flash, but while they were leaving, the rogues stole their stash. The moon on the beast, alight with a glow, gave enough night visions for the humans to know. Then what to their gaming table should appear? A miniature giant with 8 tiny owlbears, each with some gear. How did they get there so fast and so quick? They knew in a moment it must be a DM trick. And more rapid than dragons his owlbears all came, as he shouted and called owlbears by name. Now Smasher, now Lancer, now Prancer and Vexen, on Comet, on Bludgeon, on Biter and Blitzen. Eat that halfling, eat them all, even the warlock, including its thrall. Roll initiative, roll initiative, roll initiative all. As dry leaves that before the hurricane fly, the startled party a defense did try. Into the battle the owlbears then flew, along with his giant and his hand axes too. Initiative rolling, the sound of the dice, that clicking and clacking, always so nice. He wrote down the order of that first round, the rogue appearing without making a sound. The giant was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of weapons he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his sack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples so scary, his cheeks were like boulders, his nose like a cherry. His mouth was giant, the size of a bow, and his beard and chin were as white as the snow. He had the stump of a tree he held tight in his teeth, and all the while the owlbears encircled his feet like a wreath. He had a huge face and a giant round belly. He told the party he would smash them into jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right scary old oaf. The bard laughed when she saw him. He's as dumb as a loaf. With a wink of the eye and a nod of her head, she cast a spell the DM did dread. She spoke not a word, it wasn't somatic. The pattern appeared, looking chromatic. Around the great giant a shimmering rose, then he grabbed his head and started the doze. Then the rangers sprang out, and the owlbears did whistle, and they all flew away like the down of a thistle. Then the DM exclaimed, his minis put out of sight, "Experience to all, huzzah, and good night." So, in the spirit of the holidays, I thought, what makes players the happiest? And that is always more loot. And what better way to do that than adding 12 new homebrewed items to your D&D game? So, here we go. Here are the 12 days of homebrewed Christmas. On the 12th day of Christmas, the DM gave to me 12 drums of leaving, 11 pipes of puffing, 10 lances of leaping, 9 spells of dancing, 8 maces of maiming, 7 suits of swimming, 6 geese of sleighing, 5 golden rings, 4 calling stones, 3 stench horns, 2 turtle claws, and a moon druid shaped like a tree. So let's kick it off with the 12th day of Christmas's item, and that will be the drums of leaving. These are bard instruments, and they will serve as a casting focus. And like all the bard instruments, they come with the fly, invisibility, levitate, and protection from evil and good spells prepared for you. And the homebrew flavor of this is that you can chuck this drum up to 60 feet to a space that you can see next to one of your allies. And then your allies can use its reaction to bounce off of it like a trampoline and land in an open space that they can see within 30 feet, and they don't provoke opportunity attacks when they do this. They have to be medium or smaller for this to work, as a large creature's foot goes through the drum, and then they lose 10 speed until they take an action to remove their foot from it. The 11th day of Christmas item is the Pipe of Puffing, and this is a long pipe. Think Gandalf from Lord of the Rings-esque, not Sherlock Holmes. And it will also serve as an arcane focus. It can be swung to do 1d6 bludgeoning damage, and if you do that, it can have the push mastery, and it's a versatile weapon also if you need to use your dexterity for that. The way this works in combat, as a bonus action, you can roll a d6 and have random stuff happen to you once a day for 10 minutes. And here are the things that happen. On a 1, you fall asleep for 1d4 turns and you aren't able to wake up. Number 2, you feel sluggish and your speed is halved for the next minute. Number 3, you can see into the future. You roll a d20 and save it. You can use this d20 roll to replace any d20 roll on the table, but that must be done before the time runs out for this. Number 4, you can cast Fireball. Number 5, you become super fast and your movement speed is doubled for 1 minute. And if you roll a 6, you become invisible as if under the greater invisibility spell for the duration. For the 10th day, we have the Lance of Leaping, and this is an oversized lance. It has a reach of 15 feet instead of 10. It does the 1d12 piercing damage, and it has the Topple mastery. You do have, like all lances, disadvantage if you attack a creature that's within 5 feet of you. And here's the homebrew for this item. When you move 20 feet in a straight line, you can perform a pole vault with this lance, and you vault yourself up to 20 feet into the air and up to 20 foot forward. And when you do this, you must pass a DC 14 dexterity check. If you pass, you leave the lance speared into the ground and you perform a death from above attack as you pull out a new weapon on the way down and strike out with it. The death from above attack does double the damage weapon die on a hit plus your attack mod, and it also auto knocks the target prone if it's huge or smaller. You and the target each then take 1d6 fall damage as the creature you attack broke your fall. And this fall damages bypasses flight and hover, as for you to be able to knock that creature down, you actually had to hit it, so you'll take that damage too. But it's a really fun little pole vault thing in and out of combat because it can be used to like get across ravines or up to higher areas. And who doesn't love items that give your characters more mobility in combat and out? For the 9th day of Christmas, we have the Spell of Dancing. And this will be a level 3 illusion spell, and you can cause music and magical lights of your choosing to appear in an emanation from you that's a 20-foot sphere. This is a concentration spell, and you and all creatures that are in the sphere are now on a dance-off. This will affect each creature that fails a charisma saving throw versus your spell DC. And the way this is going to work is that when your turn comes up and you're in the turn, your action has to be to point at someone else within the sphere, and then you're challenge them to a breakdance fight, basically. And it's best 2 out of 3 wins. You roll a d20 plus your dex mod, and the loser of this will take a d6 in damage for each level that the spell was cast. So it can be upcast if you would choose, but that'll be 3d6 right off the start. And as the person who cast the spell, you're allowed once per round to give advantage to a person of your choosing. The 8th day's item will be the Mace of Maiming, and this mace causes all kinds of pain. It has 6 extra long spikes coming out of it, and it deals 1d6 plus attack mod of bludgeoning damage, and causes 1d4 of bleed damage for 1d4 rounds after each hit. This cannot stack, so if you hit a creature twice on the same round, it doesn't take 2d4 of bleed damage on the next round. But on a successful attack, you roll a 1d6 to see which part of the creature got maimed. On negative crits, you have to roll a d6 and see which part of you got maimed, and on a critical, you get to roll 2 d6s and apply both effects. Let's check out what the effects are. A number 1, that's a leg shot, and that creature loses 10 speed until the end of its next turn. If you roll a 2, that is an arm shot, and this one has a couple caveats. If the creature is swinging a 2-handed weapon, that weapon will do half damage the next round that it hits. If it has a 1-handed weapon and a shield, you'll roll odds and evens. Odd, the weapon has disadvantage for 1 turn. Evens, the shield has no effects, and so that would reduce its armor class by 2 until the next turn. And if it's just using a 1-handed weapon, it drops it and has to use an action to pick it up. If you roll a 3, that is a chest shot, and that stops the creatures from being able to make reactions for 1 round. If you roll a 4, that means you hit it in the eye, and the creature is now blind for 1 round. If you roll a 5, that is a headshot, and that creature now has disadvantage on checks and saves until the end of its next turn. And if you roll a 6, that's the perfect shot. You deal 1 extra weapon die of damage, so a d6, and then you get to pick the other effect that you would like. For the 7th day of Christmas, we have the Suit of Swimming, and this is light armor made from humanely poached Swahagan skin. And if it's equipped, it has an air bladder that is included with it. And it's a super tight fitting, waterproof suit. It grants a swim speed of up to 50 feet and water breathing for up to 2 hours, at which point the air bladder will have to be refilled with a spell that produces some sort of air. It also increases your vision in water, granting you advantage on perception checks while you're in the water, and gives you resistance to cold damage. If worn for more than a short time outside of water, at the DM's discretion, it can cause levels of exhaustion. The 6th day is the Geese of Slaying spell, and this is a 4th level conjuration spell. It is 1 action and it's instant, and you summon attack geese, which is absolutely terrifying to me. Who made this up? But in a 20-foot cube, every creature in the area must pass a dex save versus your spell DC or take 4d8 bludgeoning damage as they are mauled by geese. They take half on a save, and then, as geese are terrifying, anyone that failed the dex save auto-fails the next part of this spell and are frightened for a minute. If they pass the dex save, they now have to make a wisdom save or suffer the fear effect also. The next item will be the 5 golden rings. And yeah, it's just like it sounds in the song. This is a set of 5 golden rings that have to be worn together to have any effect, and they can only be equipped by a full caster, cleric, wizard, druid, or sorcerer, or bard. But when all 5 are on the same hand, you can be like, look at my rings, my rings, my rings. Shout out to Cougar Town. So the way this works is once you've collected all 5 rings, they give you 5 special abilities that you can use. And the first of these is that you can cast Fly 1 time a day for free. The second ability is that you can catch a spell. And 1 time per week, you must pass a dex save equal to 2 times the spell's level plus 5 if you're trying to do this. But you can just catch a fireball, basically. So a fireball is a level 3 spell. 2 times that would be 6 plus 5. You would have to make a dex save of 11. And you can catch that spell, and then you can redirect it and throw it the same range that its casting range is. At level 3, you can absorb elements 1 time for free, and it doesn't take your reaction to do so. The 4th ability, you can cast Fireball proficiency times a day as a bonus action, and it doesn't take a spell slot to do this. And the 5th ability is you can do a 5-ring Death Punch, and this does 10d10 damage. You can do this 1 time a day, but there is a 10% chance that it will destroy the rings, and this chance goes up by 10% each time you use this ability. The 4th day of Christmas item is the Calling Stones, and you can leave one of these stones with a merchant or a different NPC, and then when you activate it, you can give that person a message, and then 1 minute later, a portal that will allow them to teleport to where you are, and they can make a delivery of whatever you requested of them to do. This does not allow you to teleport to where they are. It is a one-way street. So the merchant can come to you in the Underdark, but you can't just teleport out. The 3rd day's item is a Stench Horn. And this is a horn that can be activated as a bonus action. It's silent but deadly. Well, not really deadly, but it just emits a awful smell in a 10-foot radius for 10 minutes long, and anyone in the area that needs to breathe air must pass a DC 15 Constitution save, or they feel compelled to leave the area. The 2nd day of Christmas item is specific for monks, and that are turtle claws. And these gloves are made to look like the claws of a turtle. And like I said, they're class specific to monks, and what these do is they add 1d4 piercing damage on top of all of your unarmed strikes. Also, turtles are offended by you wearing these, and so you have disadvantage on social encounters with them. And finally, for the first day of Christmas, a wild shape that turns into a big tree. And this is a custom wild shape for a moon druid, as the CR would end up being too high for any other subclasses of druids. And for this, what I've done is modified a treant stat block. So here it is. The armor class we've left at 16. I've dropped the HP down to 110. It has 30 speed, just like the normal treant stat block. We've lowered the strength down to 20. That way it only gets a +5 instead of a +6. The resistances and the vulnerabilities will stay the same, and the same ability as if you're not moving, that people can't tell that you're not a tree. It has the same multi-attack slam that does 3d6 +5 bludgeoning damage, and it has a rock throw, but we dialed that back just a little bit. It has +9 to hit, and it does 3d10 +5. And then for the special ability that treants get, when they animate trees, they can normally do 2, and they have the same stat block that the normal tree does. For this, we've cut it to where they can only animate 1, and it's a sapling. And so it only gets 1/2 the HP of your wild shape. So your summon would have 55 HP. And instead of being able to do a multi-attack slam, this summon treant only does a single slam instead of having the multi-attack. And that's a good way to dial it back a little bit, so you don't have 3 treants running around with 300 HP on one character. But by the time a moon druid can get this, they'd probably be level 18, I believe, because that'll work out to be about a CR6 wild shape. But it's really fun, and some fun flavor to add to your game. And since that's the first day of Christmas, that's all 12. And I really hope that you all have enjoyed all the homebrew items and have put up with my singing and my poetry. And I really appreciate everyone's time, and that you all spend part of your day listening to me wax on about D&D. I hope everyone has a fantastic holidays. Well, folks, that's it for this episode of Dragons and Dice. I really appreciate your all's time, and thanks for listening. And if you don't care, please like, subscribe, and follow wherever you get your podcast, as it really helps with the exposure of the new show. And until next time, may your D20s roll high, and may your DMs be kind. Bye.